The massive space station floated in orbit around a distant planet. Inside its metal walls, hundreds of alien creatures moved through the corridors. They came from different worlds across the galaxy. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like giant insects. They were all here for the same reason. They wanted to join the Galactic Coalition's military force. Katie Brooks walked through the main training hall. She felt the eyes of every alien on her. She knew what they were thinking. She was human. She was different. She came from Earth, a planet that most aliens feared. They called it a Deathworld. Katie was 24 years old. She had brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Her gray eyes looked around the room with calm confidence. She was not very tall, only 5 feet and 6 inches. Most of the aliens in the room were much bigger than her. But Katie did not seem worried about that. The training hall was enormous. It had high ceilings and bright lights. The floor was made of some kind of tough material that could handle heavy impacts. Around the edges of the room there were weapons racks and training equipment. In the center, there was a large circular mat for sparring practice. Commander Veltic stood at the front of the hall. He was tall and covered in shiny scales that changed colors in the light. He had 4 eyes that could look in different directions at the same time. He was from a species called the Zenthari. They were known for being smart and fair. The commander spoke in his own language. A small device on his chest translated his words into something everyone could understand. His voice filled the hall. "Welcome, cadets. You are here because you want to serve the Galactic Coalition. This will not be easy. You will train hard. You will learn to fight. You will learn to work together. Your species does not matter here. Only your skill matters." Katie stood at attention. She kept her back straight and her hands at her sides. Next to her, an insect-like alien shifted nervously. He was tall and thin with long arms and legs. His name was Zinthar. He was from a planet where the creatures were peaceful and gentle. Zinthar looked at Katie. His mouth parts clicked together softly. "Is it true?" he whispered. "About Earth?" Katie glanced at him. "What do you mean?" "The gravity. They say your planet has very strong gravity. Much stronger than here." Katie nodded. "Yeah. Earth's gravity is about 1.4 times stronger than the station. We live with that every day." Zinthar's big eyes got even bigger. "Your whole life? You grew up in that?" "Yep, born and raised on Earth." Before Zinthar could ask more questions, a loud laugh echoed through the hall. Everyone turned to look. A large blue-skinned alien stepped forward. His name was Dravak. He was from a warrior species called the Kryn. Dravak was almost 7 feet tall. His muscles bulged under his blue skin.
He had 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on his face.
His skin looked thick and tough like armor. The Kryn were famous across the galaxy for being excellent fighters. They were proud and confident. Sometimes too confident. "A human," Dravak said loudly. He wanted everyone to hear him. "They actually sent a human here." This must be some kind of joke. Katie turned to face him. Her expression did not change. "No joke, I'm here to train." Same as everyone else, Dravak walked closer. He moved like a predator circling prey. "You train? To be a warrior? You're from a primitive planet. Your people only just learned how to travel between stars. You think you belong here with real soldiers?" Some of the other aliens moved uncomfortably. A few Kryn warriors in the group laughed. They thought Dravak was funny. Katie stayed calm. "The commander accepted me into the program. That's good enough for me." "The commander is being kind," Dravak said. His voice was full of contempt. "He feels sorry for you. Humans are weak. You're slow. You break easily. You only survived on your dangerous planet because you were lucky. In a real fight against a real warrior, you would lose in seconds." Zinthar clicked nervously. "Maybe we should just focus on training," he suggested quietly. Dravak's 3 eyes turned toward the insect alien. "Be quiet, Bug. This is between me and the primitive." Katie's jaw tightened. She did not like being called primitive, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm not looking for trouble, but I'm not backing down either." "You should back down," Dravak said. He stepped even closer. He was much taller than Katie. He looked down at her. "Save yourself the embarrassment. Go back to your little planet before you get hurt here." Commander Veltic spoke up. His voice was firm. "Cadet Dravak." That is enough, but Dravak was not done. He had been taught since birth that the Kryn were the best warriors in the galaxy. The idea that a human could train with him was insulting. It made him angry. "Commander, with respect, I think we need a demonstration. Let the human prove she belongs here. If she's really worthy of this program, she should be able to handle a simple sparring match. The commander's scales rippled. This was a sign that he was not happy. The training schedule is already set, cadet. There will be time for sparring later. Just one round, Dravek pushed. Hand-to-hand combat. No weapons. It will only take a few minutes. Think of it as orientation. We'll see what the human can do. Katie felt everyone staring at her. She knew what this was really about. Dravek wanted to embarrass her. He wanted to prove that humans were weak. He wanted to put her in her place in front of everyone. The smart choice might be to say no. To follow the rules, to wait for the official training schedule. But Katie had not traveled across the galaxy to play it safe. I accept, she said clearly. The hall went completely silent. Every alien stopped moving. They all stared at Katie and Dravek. Commander Velthix looked at both of them for a long moment. He was thinking carefully. He had read Katie's file before she arrived. He knew about her training on Earth. He knew about her test scores. He knew she was better than most people expected. But he also knew that Dravek was a skilled Kryn warrior. The Kryn had been fighting for thousands of years. They were naturally strong and tough. Very well, the commander finally said. Since you are both so eager, we will have a demonstration. This will teach all of you an important lesson about judging others. He pointed to the circular mat in the center of the hall. Standard rules. Hand-to-hand combat only. No weapons. The match ends when someone gives up. Cannot continue or when I stop it. Do you both understand? Yes, sir, Katie said. She was already walking toward the mat. I understand, Commander, Dravek said. He was grinning. He thought this would be easy. All the other cadets formed a circle around the sparring mat. They whispered to each other in many different languages. Some of them were making bets. They were not betting on who would win. They were betting on how fast Dravek would win. Zinthar clicked anxiously. A female alien next to him shook her head. This is not good. The Kryn are very dangerous fighters. I have seen Dravek fight before. He does not hold back. Katie and Dravek stood on opposite sides of the mat. The difference between them was obvious. Dravek was huge and powerful. His blue skin looked like armor. His muscles were clearly visible. Katie looked small compared to him. She looked human. She looked vulnerable, but Katie did not look scared. She rolled her shoulders to loosen her muscles. Then she dropped into a fighting stance. Her feet were shoulder-width apart. Her knees were slightly bent. Her hands were up and ready. Her breathing was slow and steady. Dravek laughed at her stance. That's how you fight, pathetic. Let me show you how a real warrior does it, he charged forward. His long legs covered the distance between them in less than a second. He swung his massive fist toward Katie's head. It was a powerful punch that could knock out most creatures. But Katie was not there anymore. She had moved to the side. The punch missed her by inches. Dravek's eyes widened in surprise. She was faster than he expected. Much faster. Dravek recovered quickly from his surprise. He was a trained warrior. Missing one punch did not mean anything. He spun around and threw another punch with his left hand. This one came fast and hard. Katie ducked under it. Her movements were smooth and controlled. She did not waste any energy. Every motion had a purpose. Every step was exactly where it needed to be. The watching aliens fell silent. They expected the human to be on the ground by now. But she was still standing. Not just standing, but moving with confidence. Dravek growled in frustration. He threw a combination of punches. Left, right, left again. Each punch was strong enough to break bones, but none of them connected. Katie moved her head just enough to avoid each strike. She made it look easy. Stand still, Dravek shouted. He was getting angry now. No, Katie replied calmly. Commander Velthix watched carefully from the edge of the mat. He spoke to the other cadets, using this as a teaching moment. Watch Cadet Brooks carefully. See how she moves. She uses minimal energy. She makes her opponent work harder. This is intelligence, not just physical ability. Dravek did not like being used as a teaching example. He was supposed to be the teacher here. He was supposed to be showing the human her place. Instead, she was making him look foolish. He changed his strategy. He faked a high punch, then dropped low and swept his leg toward Katie's feet. It was a move he had used many times before. It almost always worked. His opponents would be watching for the high punch and would not see the leg sweep coming. But Katie saw it. She jumped straight up. Dravek's leg passed under her feet. She landed lightly, balanced on the balls of her feet. Before Dravek could get back into position, she moved forward. Suddenly, Katie was very close to him. She was inside his reach. His long arms were less useful when she was this close. Her right hand shot upward. Her palm struck Dravek under the chin. It was not a hard hit. She was not trying to knock him out. But it was fast and precise. Dravek's head snapped back. He stumbled backward several steps. His 3 eyes were wide with shock. In all his years of training, very few opponents had landed a clean hit on him. The Kryn had thick skin and bone plating under it. They were naturally tough. Most punches did not hurt them much, but that strike had hurt. Commander Velthix continued his narration. Notice the precision. Cadet Brooks struck a vulnerable area. The Kryn are tough, but every species has weak points. Good fighters know how to find them. Dravek touched his chin. There was no blood, but it was sore. How had this small human hit him so hard? It did not make sense. She was so much smaller than him. What Dravek did not understand was gravity. Katie had grown up on Earth. Every day of her life, she had carried her own weight in gravity that was almost 1.5 times stronger than the station. Her bones were denser. Her muscles were stronger per pound than his were. And she had spent 16 years learning how to fight. Dravek roared in anger. He was done being careful. He was done trying to make this look easy. He charged at Katie like an angry animal. His arms reached out to grab her. If he could get his hands on her, he could use his size and strength. He could use Kryn wrestling techniques. Katie did something unexpected. She stepped toward him instead of away. This surprised Dravek again. Most opponents tried to get away from him when he charged. They tried to escape his reach, but Katie moved into his attack. Her hands moved quickly. She grabbed his reaching arm with both of her hands. Then she turned her body, dropping her hips. She used his own forward momentum against him. It was a classic judo throw. Dravek found himself flying through the air. For a moment, he was weightless. Then he crashed onto the mat with tremendous force. The impact shook the floor. Air exploded from his lungs. The watching cadets gasped. Some of them had never seen anything like this before. The mighty Kryn warrior was on the ground. The small human was standing. Zinthar's mouth parts hung open in shock. He could not believe what he was seeing. That technique is called judo, Commander Velthix explained to the cadets. It was developed on Earth thousands of years ago. It teaches fighters to use physics and leverage instead of just strength. A smaller fighter can throw a larger opponent by using momentum and balance. Dravek got to his feet slowly. His pride was hurt more than his body. But his body hurt too. That impact had rattled him. No one had ever thrown him like that. No one had ever made him feel so out of control. His 3 eyes blazed with fury. He was beyond thinking now. Beyond strategy. He just wanted to crush this human. He wanted to make her pay for embarrassing him. He charged again. This time he kept his arms wide. He wanted to tackle her. He wanted to use his greater weight to smash her into the mat. Katie waited. She watched him come. She timed her move perfectly. As Dravek reached her, Katie dropped her level. She shot forward low under his arms. Her arms wrapped around his waist. Then she used her legs. Those legs had carried her weight in Earth's heavy gravity for 24 years. Those legs were incredibly strong. Katie lifted. For a brief moment, a human lifted a Kryn warrior completely off the ground. Then she drove forward and down. She slammed Dravek onto the mat with all her strength. The sound echoed through the training hall. It was not just the sound of impact. It was the sound of assumptions being shattered. Katie did not stop. Her training took over. She immediately moved to control his arm. She wrapped her legs around his head and chest. Her hands gripped his wrist. She extended his arm, putting pressure on his elbow joint. It was an armbar, a submission hold. One of the most effective techniques in grappling. Tap out, Katie said. Her voice was calm and steady. Dravek's pride screamed at him to resist, to fight, to never give up. But pain was overriding his pride. His elbow was being hyperextended. Even his tough Kryn physiology could not protect the joint itself. If he did not tap out soon, his arm would break. Tap out, Katie repeated. She increased the pressure slightly. Dravek's free hand slapped the mat. Once, twice, 3 times. The universal signal of submission. Katie released him immediately. She rolled to her feet and stepped back. She gave him space. She was not even breathing hard. The training hall was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Every alien in the room was staring. Their mouths were open. Their eyes were wide. They could not process what they had just seen. Dravek lay on the mat. He held his sore arm. His 3 eyes were wide with shock and disbelief. He had been beaten. Completely beaten. By a human. By a creature from a primitive planet. By someone much smaller than him. How? Commander Velthix's scales rippled. If he were human, he might be smiling. The match is over. Cadet Brooks is the winner. Katie walked over to Dravek. She extended her hand to help him up. The gesture was respectful. She had won, but she was not rubbing it in his face. Dravek stared at her hand for a long moment. His pride told him to refuse, to get up on his own. But another part of him knew that would be childish. He took her hand. Katie pulled him to his feet easily. Another reminder of her strength. Another reminder that he had badly underestimated her. "You are skilled," Dravek said slowly. The words were hard to say. His pride was wounded. "I underestimated you. I was wrong." "Yeah, you were," Katie agreed. There was no anger in her voice. Just honesty. But that is why we are all here, to learn. To get better. Commander Velthix stepped onto the mat. He looked at all the assembled cadets. "Let this be your first important lesson. You will meet beings from thousands of different worlds in the Coalition military. Each one has unique abilities. Each one has adapted to their home environment." He gestured toward Katie. "Humans come from what we call a Deathworld. Earth tried to kill them every day. Higher gravity, dangerous animals, extreme weather, deadly diseases. So humans adapted. Their bodies became strong. Their bones became dense. Their muscles became powerful. And their minds became sharp. They learned to solve problems. They learned to never give up." The commander's 4 eyes swept across the watching cadets. Deathworlders earn that title for a reason. They survived conditions that would have destroyed most species. Never make the mistake of judging them by their size or their technology level. The silence in the training hall finally broke. Whispers started among the cadets. They spoke in dozens of different languages, but they were all saying the same basic thing. The human had won. The impossible had happened. Zinthar clicked excitedly and hurried over to Katie. His long legs moved quickly across the floor. "That was amazing. I have never seen anything like that. The way you moved, the way you used his strength against him. Is this normal for humans?" Katie shrugged. She seemed completely relaxed, as if she had not just defeated one of the station's top fighters. "I had good teachers. But yeah, most humans in the military train in hand-to-hand combat. It's standard for us." A female Solarian cadet named Kira approached slowly. She was shorter than most aliens, with smooth green skin and large dark eyes. "I read about Earth before coming here. The report said your planet has over 200 different fighting systems. Is that true?" "Probably more than that, honestly," Katie said. "Every culture on Earth developed their own way of fighting. Some are just for sport now. Some are ancient traditions. But a lot of them are still used in military training." More cadets started to gather around Katie. Their initial fear and caution were fading. Curiosity was replacing it. They had questions. Lots of questions. "How heavy is Earth's gravity exactly?" one asked. "Do all humans train to fight?" Another wanted to know, "Can you teach us those techniques?" Katie answered their questions patiently. She explained about Earth's gravity, which was 9.8 meters per second squared. She talked about how martial arts were popular hobbies for many humans, not just soldiers. She described different fighting styles like boxing, karate, wrestling, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Dravek stood apart from the group. He held his sore arm and watched. Part of him was still angry, still embarrassed. He had bragged about defeating the human easily. He had called her weak and primitive. And then she had made him tap out in front of everyone. But another part of him was thinking, analyzing what had happened. Dravek was proud, yes, but he was also a true warrior. And true warriors learned from their defeats. They did not make excuses. They studied what went wrong and got better. He thought about the fight. Katie had been faster than him despite his longer legs. She had been more technical, more precise. Every movement had been efficient. She had not wasted a single motion. And her throws, those throws had used his own strength and momentum against him. She had made his size into a disadvantage instead of an advantage. That was brilliant. That was something he had never encountered before. Slowly, Dravek walked toward the group of cadets surrounding Katie. When he approached, they fell silent. They moved aside to make space. Katie turned to face him. Her posture was alert but not hostile. "I spoke poorly before the match," Dravik said formally. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "My words were based on ignorance. I judged you by your size and your planet's technology level. That was wrong. You are a warrior who deserves respect, Katie Brooks. I would be honored to train alongside you." Katie studied his face. She was looking for signs that he was lying or just trying to save face, but she saw genuine sincerity in his 3 eyes. His posture had changed. The arrogance was gone. "Apology accepted," Katie said. She extended her hand again. This time, Dravik shook it without hesitation. His grip was strong. Katie matched his strength. They held the handshake for a moment, a sign of mutual respect. The tension that had filled the hall disappeared. Other cadets started talking again. The atmosphere changed from hostile to curious. The barrier between species had cracked. Commander Veltix observed all of this with satisfaction. He had seen this pattern before. Humans had a way of surprising the galaxy. Those surprises often led to understanding and cooperation. "Attention, cadets," the commander called out. His voice cut through the chatter. "That is enough excitement for today. Tomorrow morning at 0600 hours we begin formal training. You will have sparring rotations, tactical simulations, and endurance exercises. I suggest you all get proper rest tonight. You will need it. Dismissed." The cadets began to leave the training hall. They split into small groups as they walked toward their living quarters. Katie found herself walking with Zinthar, Kira, and surprisingly, Dravik. The 4 of them moved through the station's corridors. The walls were smooth metal. Lights ran along the ceiling, providing steady illumination. Other aliens passed them going the opposite direction. Some stared at Katie with new interest. "Tell me about that throwing technique," Dravik said as they walked. The commander called it judo. "How long did you study it?" Katie thought for a moment. "I started when I was 6 years old. I did judo until I was 12. Then I switched to Brazilian jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, so about 16 years total, give or take." Zinthar's mandibles clicked in amazement. 16 years? That is almost a third of a human lifespan. More like a fifth, actually, Katie corrected. Humans usually live to about 80 or 90 years old, sometimes longer if they have good medical care and healthy habits. "Remarkable," Kira said. Her large eyes blinked slowly. "And this training is common on your world?" "Pretty common, yeah. Lots of kids do martial arts. It teaches discipline and respect, not just fighting. Some people stick with it as adults. Others just do it for a few years and then stop. But the military takes it seriously. All our soldiers train in hand-to-hand combat." Dravik shook his head slowly. "On my world, we train warriors from birth. Fighting is our entire culture. It is what the Kryn are known for. And yet you, with only 16 years of part-time training, defeated me easily. It is humbling." "Do not sell yourself short," Katie said. "You are strong and fast. Really fast. But you relied too much on that strength. You telegraphed your moves. You signaled what you were going to do before you did it. Against someone with less experience, you would have won quickly. But I have been training specifically to fight people who are bigger and stronger than me. That is the whole point of judo. You use physics and leverage instead of just muscle." They reached the residential section of the station. Here the corridors branched off into different areas. Each cadet had been assigned personal quarters. The group paused at an intersection where they would need to split up to reach their rooms. "I would like to learn your fighting techniques," Dravik said. He looked directly at Katie. "Would you be willing to teach me?" Katie smiled. "Sure, but I should warn you.
Jiu-jitsu training is really humbling.
You spend the first year getting choked and submitted by people half your size. Your ego takes a beating. After today, I think my ego needs that," Dravik replied. There was a hint of humor in his voice. "I want to learn too," Zinthar said quickly. "My species is not built for combat. We are scientists and builders. But if I must serve in the coalition military, I should be able to defend myself. Perhaps your techniques could help me compensate for my physical limitations." Kira nodded agreement. "The Solarians have always focused on technology and strategy. We build weapons and ships. We do not usually fight hand-to-hand. But the coalition requires competence in all areas. Your teaching could fill a gap in my training." Katie looked at the 3 aliens. They came from completely different worlds. They had different bodies, different cultures, different ways of thinking. But they all wanted to learn. They all wanted to improve. "Okay," she said. "I will teach you. but it will not be easy. Martial arts training is hard work. You will get thrown around. You will get tired. You will probably get frustrated. But if you stick with it, you will get better. I promise. When do we start? Dravek asked. Give me a day to settle in and figure out the schedule. Then we can start with the basics. I will find a time when the training hall is available for extra practice. They said their goodnights and headed to their separate quarters. Katie walked down the corridor to her assigned room. It was small but comfortable. There was a bed, a desk, a storage area, and a small bathroom. A window looked out at the planet below. Katie sat on the edge of her bed and looked out the window. The planet Kepler 442b was beautiful from orbit. It had blue oceans and green continents. It looked a bit like Earth, actually. She thought about what had happened today. She had come to this station expecting challenges, but she had not expected to be challenged before training even started. Dravik had tried to embarrass her. To prove she did not belong, instead she had proven herself. And now, instead of making an enemy, she might have made friends. Katie smiled. Maybe this assignment would not be so bad after all. 3 days later, Katie stood in a smaller training room with Dravik, Zinthar, and Kira. The official training sessions kept all the cadets busy during the day. But Katie had reserved this room for evening practice. It was time to teach her first lesson. The room was not as large as the main training hall, but it had padded mats on the floor and plenty of space for 4 people to train. The lighting was good. The temperature was comfortable. Okay, Katie said. Before we start learning techniques, we need to talk about the basics. Fighting is not just about strength or speed. It is about understanding principles, physics, leverage, balance. These things matter more than how big you are. Dravek stood with his arms crossed. He was trying to be patient. But Katie could tell he wanted to jump straight into the techniques. He wanted to learn the throws and submissions she had used against him. I know this seems boring, Katie said, but trust me, if you do not understand the principles, the techniques will not work. What principles? Kira asked. She had brought a data pad to take notes. Katie gestured for them to sit on the mat. Once they were all seated in a circle, she continued. First principle, use your opponent's energy against them. Do not fight force with force. If someone pushes you, do not push back. Pull them instead. If someone pulls you, push them. This makes them lose balance. She demonstrated by having Dravik stand and push against her hands. When he pushed, Katie suddenly pulled. Dravik stumbled forward off balance. See? I did not use much strength. I just changed the direction of his energy. He was pushing, so I pulled. Now he is vulnerable. Zinthar clicked thoughtfully. This makes sense. In physics, we learn about vectors and momentum. You are redirecting his momentum vector. Exactly, Katie said. Second principle. Control the center. In fighting, whoever controls the center of gravity has the advantage. If you can get under someone's center of gravity, you can lift them. If you can break their structure, you can throw them. She demonstrated with Dravek again. She showed how standing upright gave him a strong base, but if she got low and disrupted that base, he became easy to move. Third principle. Position over submission. This is especially important in grappling. Do not rush for the finish. Focus on getting to a good position first. Once you have position, the submission will be easy. Katie spent the next hour drilling these principles. She had them practice pushing and pulling exercises. She showed them how to break balance. She taught them proper posture and movement. Dravik was strong but stiff. He was used to using power. Learning to be relaxed and fluid was hard for him. Several times he tried to muscle through techniques instead of using proper form. Stop, Katie said when he did this. You are using strength again. Let the technique work. Stay loose, Dravek growled in frustration. This is harder than I expected. Good techniques are simple, but simple does not mean easy, Katie replied. It takes time to train your body to move correctly. Zinthar, despite his thin frame, was actually picking things up quickly. His species was naturally flexible, and as a scientist, he understood the physics behind what Katie was teaching. Once he grasped a principle, he could apply it. Kira was methodical. She practiced each movement slowly and carefully. She asked questions about angles and grips. She wanted to understand exactly how each technique worked before moving on to the next one. After an hour, Katie called for a break. They all sat on the mat, breathing hard. Even the simple drills were tiring when done correctly. Tomorrow we will start learning actual throws, Katie said. But tonight was important. Everything we do builds on these basics. Katie, Dravek said, can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you come here? To the Coalition training program. You could have stayed on Earth, served in your own military. Why come to space? Katie was quiet for a moment. She looked at each of them. Because the galaxy is bigger than Earth. There are so many species out here, so many different ways of thinking and living. I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to see what humans could learn from other species, and what we could teach. You are teaching us a lot, Zinthar said, not just about fighting. About humility too. Drevik is not the only one who underestimated humans. Many species did. Your performance in that match changed how everyone sees your people. That is a lot of pressure, Katie said with a slight smile. I'm just one person. I cannot represent all of humanity. Perhaps not, Kira said, but you represent the potential of humanity. Before you arrived, most cadets thought of humans as interesting but not impressive. Now they are curious. They want to know more. Several cadets have asked me if you are typical for your species. What did you tell them? I told them I would find out and let them know, Kira said. So, are you typical? Katie laughed. I do not know. I think every human is different. But most of us are stubborn. We do not like to quit, and we are adaptable. We can learn new things and adjust to new situations. Those traits are pretty common for humans. The refusal to quit, Drevik said slowly. I saw that in our match. You were not intimidated by my size or my species' reputation. You just fought your fight. That mental strength might be more impressive than your physical techniques. Mental strength and physical technique work together, Katie said. You cannot have one without the other. A strong mind and a weak body will lose. A strong body with a weak mind will also lose. You need both. They talked for a while longer. Then Katie sent them back to their quarters to rest. Tomorrow would be another long day of official training with Commander Veltix, and then another evening session learning judo throws. As Katie walked back to her own room, she passed other cadets in the corridors. Some of them nodded respectfully. A few even stopped to introduce themselves and ask about training. Word was spreading through the station. The human was not just tough. She was willing to teach. She was willing to share her knowledge. Katie realized that her presence here was changing things in ways she had not expected. She had come to learn about other species. But maybe, just maybe, she had things to teach them too. Back in her quarters, Katie recorded a message to send back to Earth. Communication across the stars was slow. It would take weeks for her message to reach home, but she wanted to tell her family and friends about what was happening. Hey everyone, she said to the recording device. I have been here almost a week now. Training is intense but good. I got into a sparring match on my first day. It is a long story, but I won. Now I am teaching martial arts to some of the other cadets in the evening. It is weird being a teacher, but it feels right. She paused, thinking about what else to say. The aliens here are not what I expected. I mean, they look different, obviously, but once you get past that, they are not so different from us. They have pride and fear and curiosity just like we do. Some of them are arrogant. Some are humble. Some are funny. They are just people, you know? People from different worlds. Katie finished her message and set it to transmit. Then she got ready for bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, new opportunities. As she lay in bed looking out at the stars, Katie thought about how far she had come. Just a week ago, she had been on a transport ship heading to the station. Nervous about meeting aliens. Worried about fitting in, now she was here. She had proven herself. She had made friends. She was teaching others. The galaxy was big and strange and full of wonders. But maybe, just maybe, humans had a place in it after all. Katie closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep. She dreamed of Earth, of the heavy gravity that had made her strong, of the martial arts dojos where she had spent so many hours training, of the teachers who had prepared her for this moment. She dreamed of home. But when she woke up, she was excited to face another day among the stars. The next morning, Katie arrived at the main training hall early. Commander Veltix was already there, reviewing data on a holographic display. He looked up when Katie entered. Cadet Brooks, you are early. Yes, sir. Wanted to get some stretching in before class. The commander's scales rippled in what might have been approval. I heard you are conducting evening training sessions. Teaching Earth combat techniques to other cadets. Yes, sir. Just helping some friends learn the basics. Good. The Coalition values knowledge sharing. Skills should not be hoarded. They should be spread. Your willingness to teach reflects well on both you and humanity. Thank you, sir. Other cadets began arriving. the room filled with the sounds of different languages and clicking mandibles and humming vocalizations. Morning training was about to begin. 4 weeks had passed since Katie's arrival at the training station. In that time, everything had changed. What started as informal lessons with 3 students had grown into something bigger. Now, almost 25 cadets from different species attended Katie's evening sessions. The small training room was no longer big enough. They had to move to one of the larger practice areas. Katie stood before the assembled group. They sat in rows on the padded floor. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had exoskeletons. But they all watched her with attention and respect. "Tonight we are going to work on escapes," Katie announced. "Specifically, what to do when someone bigger and stronger than you has you pinned down. This is important because it will happen in real combat. You will end up in bad positions. You need to know how to get out." She gestured for Dravek to come forward. The Kryn warrior stepped onto the mat. Over the past month, he had become Katie's most dedicated student. His arrogance had been replaced by genuine eagerness to learn. "Dravek is going to pin me down," Katie explained. "He outweighs me by probably 80 pounds. He is stronger than me. If he uses that strength correctly, he should be able to hold me down. Right, Dravek?" "In theory, yes," Dravek agreed. "But I have learned that theory and practice are different things with you." The watching cadets laughed. Dravek had developed a sense of humor about his initial defeat. He often joked about it now. Katie lay on her back on the mat. Dravek climbed on top of her, using his weight to pin her down. He held her shoulders against the ground. It looked impossible for Katie to escape. "This is called the mount position," Katie said from beneath Dravek. "In many combat systems, this is considered a dominant position. The person on top has all the advantages, but there are always escapes. You just need to know where to look." She began to move. Her hips shifted. Her arms pushed at specific angles. Within seconds, she had created space and slipped out from under Dravek's weight. She ended up on top, reversing their positions. The cadets erupted in excited chatter, even after seeing Katie demonstrate dozens of techniques. They were still amazed by what she could do. "Let me show that again." "But slower this time," Katie said. She spent the next hour teaching hip escapes, bridges, and other fundamental movements. She broke down each step. She explained the mechanics. She had the cadets practice with partners of different sizes. Zinthar worked with a heavyset alien from a high-gravity world similar to Earth. Despite being much lighter, Zinthar managed to escape from beneath his partner using the techniques Katie taught. His mandibles clicked with joy when he succeeded. "I did it. I actually did it!" he exclaimed. "Good job," Katie said. "Remember, technique beats strength when technique is done correctly. You do not need to be strong to escape. You need to be technical." Kira was drilling with a Kryn warrior named Tor. She was methodical as always, practicing each movement dozens of times. Tor was patient with her, resetting the position after each escape attempt. As Katie moved around the room correcting form and answering questions, she noticed something. The cadets were not just learning from her. They were learning from each other. The Kryn were teaching the others about their natural aggression and pressure. The Velcorin were showing everyone their flexibility. The Solarians were helping with the angles and physics. Different species, different strengths, all coming together. Commander Veltix stood at the entrance to the training area. He had been watching for several minutes. Katie noticed him and called the class to attention. "Commander on deck," she announced. All the cadets immediately stopped what they were doing. They stood at attention, showing respect for their superior officer. "As you were," the commander said. "Continue your training." "I am merely observing." The cadets returned to their drills, but Katie walked over to speak with the commander privately. "Sir, is there a problem?" "No problem, Cadet Brooks. I am impressed, actually. You have built something valuable here. These evening sessions have improved morale throughout the entire training program." "Thank you, sir." "I have been watching the cadets during official training," the commander continued. "Those who attend your evening classes show marked improvement in their close combat skills. They are more confident, more willing to engage. They understand principles that usually take months to grasp." Katie felt pride at his words, but she stayed humble. "They are good students, sir. Eager to learn." "You are a good teacher," the commander replied, "but I did not come here just to observe. I came to inform you that I am adding your combat system to the official curriculum." Katie's eyes widened. "Sir?" "Starting next month, all cadets will receive instruction in Earth martial arts. specifically judo and what you call Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You will be the primary instructor with rank of training specialist. This is a significant responsibility. Do you accept? Katie stood straighter. Yes, sir, I accept. Thank you, sir. Do not thank me yet. Teaching 25 cadets in the evening is one thing. Teaching 200 cadets as part of their required training is quite different. You will have help, of course. Several of your current students will assist you, but the responsibility is yours. I understand, sir. I will not let you down. Commander Velthix's scales rippled. I know you will not. Dismissed. After the commander left, Katie returned to the training group. She did not mention the conversation right away. She wanted to process it herself first. But Dravik could tell something had changed. What did the commander want? He asked during a water break. He wants me to teach martial arts to all the cadets, as part of the official program. Starting next month, Zinthar clicked excitedly. That is wonderful. Your techniques should be shared with everyone. It is a big responsibility, Katie said. I have never taught groups that large before. You will be excellent, Kira said confidently. You have a gift for breaking down complex movements into simple steps. And you are patient with students who struggle. Plus, you will have us to help, Dravik added. We can demonstrate. We can assist with the newer students. We can share what we have learned. Katie looked at her friends. They believed in her. They trusted her. She could not let them down. Okay, she said. Then we need to prepare. If I'm going to teach 200 cadets, I need to develop a real curriculum. Lesson plans, progression systems, safety protocols. We will help, Dravik said immediately. Over the next 2 weeks, Katie worked with her core group of students to develop a comprehensive training program. They identified the most important techniques. They created drills that could be taught to large groups. They established safety rules to prevent injuries. Katie also started training her assistants more intensely. Dravik, Zinthar, Kira, and 3 others would help her teach the classes. They needed to be able to demonstrate properly and correct mistakes. During this time, Katie's reputation spread beyond just the training station. She received messages from other coalition facilities asking about the human combat system. Some wanted to know if she could visit their stations to teach. Others wanted instructional videos. One evening, Katie sat in her quarters responding to these messages. A communication came through from Earth. It was from her old martial arts instructor, Master Chen. Katie, the recorded message began. I heard about what you are doing up there. Teaching aliens judo and jiu-jitsu. I am so proud of you. You are representing Earth well. Remember, martial arts are not just about fighting. They are about respect, discipline, and bringing people together. It sounds like you are doing exactly that. Keep up the good work, Katie smiled. Master Chen had taught her for 10 years. He had been more than just a fighting instructor. He had been a mentor and a guide. His approval meant everything. She recorded a response. Thank you, Master Chen. I'm trying to live up to the principles you taught me. The martial arts are bringing different species together here. They are learning from each other. It is exactly what you always said martial arts should do. Build bridges, not just warriors. As Katie sent the message, she looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, 23 light years away, was Earth, was home. But this station was starting to feel like home too. She had arrived here as just another cadet, an unknown human from a death world. Many had doubted her. Some had mocked her, now she was a teacher. A bridge between species. A symbol that different did not mean lesser. Katie thought about that first day. About Dravik mocking her. About the challenge. About putting him on the floor in seconds. That moment had changed everything. It had opened doors. It had created opportunities. Sometimes, Katie thought, the best response to mockery was not words. It was action. It was proving yourself through deeds rather than arguments. She had proven herself, and now she was helping others prove themselves too. The next month would bring new challenges. Teaching 200 cadets would test her abilities. But Katie was ready. After all, she was human. She came from Earth, a world that had spent millions of years trying to kill her species. Teaching martial arts to some aliens? That would be easy by comparison. The main training hall had been transformed. Padded mats now covered almost the entire floor. Training equipment lined the walls. A raised platform allowed instructors to demonstrate techniques so everyone could see. Katie stood on that platform, looking out at 200 cadets from dozens of species. They sat in organized rows waiting for class to begin. Commander Velthik stood to the side observing. This was it. The first official class in Earth martial arts for the Galactic Coalition training program. Katie took a deep breath. She was nervous but ready. Behind her stood her 6 assistants. Dravek, Zinthar, Kira, and 3 others who had trained with her for weeks. They would help demonstrate and work with smaller groups. Good morning, cadets, Katie began. Her voice carried across the hall. Welcome to Earth martial arts. Over the next 6 months, you will learn fighting techniques that humans have developed over thousands of years. These techniques are designed to help smaller, weaker fighters defeat larger, stronger opponents. She paused, letting that sink in. I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking that you are already strong, already skilled, that these techniques are beneath you. I thought the same thing about some of you when I first arrived. Several cadets shifted uncomfortably. A few smiled, remembering the story of Katie's fight with Dravek. That story had spread throughout the entire facility. But I learned something important here. Katie continued. There is always someone stronger, always someone faster, always someone with better natural advantages. The question is not whether you are strong enough. The question is whether you are skilled enough to overcome someone who has natural advantages over you. She gestured for Dravek to join her on the platform. He climbed up, towering over her as always. This is Cadet Dravek. He is Kryn. His species are natural warriors, stronger than me, tougher than me, with advantages I will never have. 4 weeks ago I had to fight him. If we fought using pure strength, I would lose. Every time. No question. Dravek nodded agreement. She is correct. In a test of pure strength, I would win easily. But we did not fight with pure strength, Katie said. We fought with technique. And technique can overcome strength. Let me show you. She had Dravek grab her in a bear hug from behind. His powerful arms wrapped around her torso. It looked impossible to escape. This is a very bad position, Katie narrated. He is stronger. He has better leverage. If I panic and just struggle, I will waste energy and achieve nothing. But if I use technique, Katie moved. Her hips shifted. Her arms moved to specific positions. She stepped and turned. Within 3 seconds, she had escaped the hold and gotten behind Dravek, controlling his back. The watching cadets murmured in amazement. That is what we will teach you, Katie said. Not how to be stronger, how to be smarter, how to use physics, leverage, and timing instead of just muscle. She spent the next hour teaching the most fundamental techniques. How to fall safely, how to stand properly, how to move efficiently. These were not exciting techniques. They were not flashy or impressive, but they were essential. Some cadets paid close attention. Others seemed bored. Katie expected this. Not everyone would appreciate the basics right away. Okay, everyone partner up, Katie instructed. Try to find partners who are different sizes from you. If you are big, partner with someone small. If you are small, partner with someone big. The cadets formed pairs. Katie and her assistants moved through the groups, correcting posture and answering questions. It was chaotic at first. 200 beings trying to learn new movements at once created a lot of confusion. But slowly, order emerged. The cadets began to understand the basic movements. The falls, the grips, the stances. After 2 hours, Katie called the class to end. Good work today, everyone. Tomorrow we will begin learning actual throws. Remember to practice your falling tonight. You will be doing a lot of it tomorrow. As the cadets filed out, Commander Velthik approached Katie. Well done, Training Specialist Brooks. That was an effective first lesson. Thank you, sir. It is harder teaching a group this large. But I think they are starting to understand. Some are. Others remain skeptical. That is normal. They will believe once they see results. Over the following weeks, Katie taught class after class. Each session built on the previous one. The cadets learned throws, takedowns, pins, and escapes. They learned submissions and defenses. Slowly but surely, they improved. There were challenges, of course. Some species had body types that did not work well with certain techniques. Katie had to adapt. She developed variations for aliens with different numbers of limbs. She created modified techniques for species with tails or wings. The Velcaran, with their long, thin bodies, struggled with techniques that required upper body strength. But they excelled at techniques using their legs and flexibility. The Kryn were naturally strong but often too stiff. They had to learn to relax and flow instead of forcing everything. The Solarians were intellectual and technical. They understood the theory quickly, but struggled with the physical execution. Katie learned to teach each species differently, to emphasize different aspects depending on natural abilities and limitations. One day, about 6 weeks into the program, an incident occurred. A cadet named Vex from a species called the Drathian challenged one of Katie's techniques during class. "This will not work against a real opponent," Vex said dismissively. He was large, nearly 8 feet tall with rocky skin and 4 arms. "These techniques only work in controlled practice." Katie remained calm. She had dealt with skeptics before. "Would you like to test that theory?" "Yes," Vex said. "I think these human techniques are overrated." "Okay, attack me however you want. Use your strength." "Do not hold back," Vex grinned. He grabbed at Katie with all 4 of his arms, trying to simply overwhelm her with his size and extra limbs. Katie moved. She used one of the techniques she had just taught. She redirected Vex's momentum, used his forward pressure against him, and threw him hard onto the mat. Vex landed with a grunt. The wind was knocked out of him. "The technique works," Katie said simply. "Next time you have doubts, ask instead of assuming." She helped Vex to his feet. The big alien looked embarrassed but also impressed. He nodded respectfully and returned to his place. After that incident, the skepticism decreased. The cadets trained harder. They asked more questions. They wanted to learn. Katie also noticed something else happening. The cadets were bonding across species lines. Partners who trained together regularly became friends. The shared struggle of learning difficult techniques created connections. The Kryn, who had initially kept to themselves, were now training with everyone. The Velkaran, who had been timid, were gaining confidence. The Solarians were actually getting into physical combat and enjoying it. During one evening session with her original students, Kira made an observation. "You have changed this place, Katie. When we arrived, everyone stayed with their own species. Now we mix freely. We learn from each other." "You built this." "We built this," Katie corrected. "All of us together. I just showed you some techniques. You made it into something bigger." Dravik nodded. "She is right, though. You were the catalyst. Your willingness to teach, to share your knowledge freely, that inspired the rest of us. Plus, you are human." Zinthar added. "That matters. Humans are new to the galactic community. You come from a death world. You could have been arrogant about your advantages. Instead, you help others become stronger. That says something about your species." Katie had not thought about it that way, but maybe Zinthar was right. Maybe humans had something unique to offer the galaxy, not just strength or resilience, but the willingness to lift others up instead of pushing them down. That night, Katie received another message from Earth. This one was from the Coalition's Earth representative, Ambassador Liu. "Training Specialist Brooks, your work at the training facility has been noticed at the highest levels. The Coalition Council is impressed with the results. Cadets trained in your methods show significantly improved close combat effectiveness. The Council is considering implementing your curriculum at all Coalition training facilities across the galaxy." Katie played the message 3 times to make sure she heard it correctly. "All facilities? Across the entire galaxy? Furthermore," the ambassador continued, "we would like you to develop a comprehensive training manual. This manual will be distributed to Coalition forces everywhere. You will be credited as the primary author. This is a tremendous honor, Katie. You are making humanity proud." Katie sat back in her chair. A training manual. For the entire galaxy. Written by her, it was overwhelming. She was just one person, a martial arts instructor who happened to be in space. How had this happened? But she knew how. It happened because she had taken a chance. Because when Dravik challenged her, she accepted instead of backing down. Because she chose to teach instead of keeping knowledge to herself. One moment had changed everything. One fight, one decision to stand up for herself and her species. He mocked the Deathworld girl during training. Moments later, he was on the floor, and now, months after that moment, the ripples were spreading across the entire galaxy. Katie began working on the training manual that night. She had a lot of work ahead of her. But she was ready. After all, she was human. And humans did not back down from challenges. They faced them head on. 3 months had passed since Katie began writing the training manual. During that time, the training program had continued to grow and evolve. Now, as graduation approached, Katie stood in her quarters reviewing the final version of her work. The manual was comprehensive. 300 pages covering every aspect of Earth martial arts adapted for multiple species. It included detailed diagrams showing how different body types could execute the same techniques. It explained the physics and principles behind every movement. It provided progression systems so students could advance at their own pace. Commander Veltix had reviewed it personally. His official feedback was brief but meaningful. This is exactly what the Coalition needs. Well done, training specialist. Tomorrow was graduation day. The 200 cadets who had started training 6 months ago would complete the program. They would receive their assignments and head off to different parts of the galaxy to serve. Katie felt proud and a little sad. She had grown close to many of these cadets, especially her core group of students who had been with her from the beginning. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Dravik, Zinthar, and Kira entered. They were already in their dress uniforms, ready for tomorrow's ceremony. "We wanted to give you something before graduation," Dravik said. He held out a small box. Katie opened it. Inside was a medal. It was not an official Coalition medal. It was something the cadets had made themselves. The design showed 4 figures representing different species standing together in fighting stances. "We all contributed to have this made," Kira explained. "Everyone who trained with you. All 200 cadets. It represents what you taught us. Not just fighting techniques, unity." Katie felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them back. "Thank you. This means everything to me." "You changed us," Zinthar said. His mandibles clicked softly. "When I arrived here, I was terrified. My species is not built for combat. I thought I would fail. But you showed me that technique can overcome physical disadvantages. Now I am confident. I know I can defend myself and my fellow soldiers." "You are always capable," Katie said. "I just showed you how." "Do not diminish what you did," Dravik said firmly. "I was arrogant when we met. I thought my species was superior. I thought might made right. You humbled me. You taught me to respect others regardless of their size or strength. That lesson was more valuable than any technique." Kira nodded. "The data supports this. Cadets who trained in your methods show 37% improvement in close combat effectiveness. But more importantly, they show increased cooperation across species lines. Units are more cohesive. Trust is higher. This has measurable effects on mission success rates. Leave it to Kira to have actual statistics ready." "I heard about your next assignment," Zinthar said. "You are going to the Coalition Military Academy to train instructors. You will be teaching teachers," Katie nodded. "Yeah. They want me to train a cadre of instructors who can then teach at facilities across the galaxy. It is a big responsibility." "You will be excellent," Dravik said confidently. "You are meant for this, Katie. You are a bridge between species. A teacher. A warrior. You represent the best of what humanity offers the galaxy." "What about you 3? Katie asked. "Where are you being assigned?" "I am going to a research station," Zinthar said. "We are studying anomalous energy readings near the galactic core. But I will continue practicing what you taught me. I will teach others if they want to learn. I am assigned to a strategic planning division," Kira said, "analyzing combat data and developing tactical protocols. I plan to incorporate your principles into official Coalition combat doctrine. And I am joining a rapid response team," Dravik said. "We deploy to crisis situations across the sector. It is dangerous work, but I am ready. Your training prepared me not just physically but mentally." They talked for hours, about training, about the future, about what they had learned from each other. Eventually, they had to leave to get rest before graduation. After they left, Katie sat by her window looking at the stars. She thought about the past 6 months, about everything that had changed. She remembered arriving at this station, nervous and uncertain, wondering if she belonged. She remembered that first day in the training hall, Dravik mocking her, calling her weak and primitive. She remembered accepting his challenge, fighting in front of everyone, proving that humans were not weak. She remembered the moment Dravik tapped out. The silence in the hall, the shock on everyone's faces. That moment had been the beginning. But it was just the beginning. What came after was more important. The friendships formed, the knowledge shared, the barriers broken down between species. Katie had learned something important during her time here. Fighting was not really about defeating opponents. It was about overcoming challenges. Sometimes those challenges were physical. Sometimes they were mental or emotional or social, but the principles were the same. Stay balanced. Use leverage. Do not waste energy. Be patient. Wait for the right moment, then act decisively. These principles worked in combat, but they also worked in life. The next morning, the graduation ceremony was held in the largest assembly hall on the station. Families had come from various worlds to attend. The hall was filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Commander Veltix presided over the ceremony. He called each cadet forward to receive their diploma and assignment orders. When each cadet's name was called, they walked across the stage to shake the commander's hand. The ceremony took over 2 hours. Finally, the commander made his closing remarks. "You came here 6 months ago as individuals," he said. "You leave today as members of the coalition military. You have learned to fight. You have learned strategy and tactics. You have learned discipline and teamwork." He paused, his 4 eyes scanning the assembled cadets. "But perhaps most importantly, you have learned from each other. You have learned that strength comes in many forms, that every species has something valuable to contribute, that we are stronger together than apart." His gaze settled on Katie. "We were fortunate to have a human among our cadets this cycle. Training Specialist Brooks showed all of you that assumptions are dangerous. That size does not determine capability. That willingness to teach is as important as willingness to learn." The cadets began to applaud. It started quietly but grew louder. Soon all 200 cadets were clapping and cheering. Some were stomping their feet. Others were making their species versions of appreciation sounds. Katie felt her face getting hot. She was not used to this kind of attention. Commander Veltix gestured for quiet. "Training Specialist Brooks will be leaving us soon to train instructors at the Coalition Academy. But her legacy remains here. The techniques she taught will continue to be taught to every cadet who passes through this facility. Her manual will be used across the galaxy, and the friendship she helped build will last a lifetime." After the ceremony, there was a reception. Katie found herself surrounded by cadets wanting to thank her personally. Some wanted to take pictures with her. Others wanted her to sign their copies of the training manual. Late in the evening, as the reception was winding down, Katie stepped outside onto an observation deck. She needed a moment alone. She looked out at the planet below and the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, Earth was continuing its rotation. Life was going on. People were living their lives unaware that a human on a distant space station had just helped change how the galaxy viewed their species. "Quite a journey, hasn't it been?" a voice said behind her. Katie turned. Ambassador Liu stood there. She must have arrived for the graduation ceremony. "Yes, ma'am. Quite a journey. You know what impresses me most?" the ambassador asked. "It is not the fighting. It is not the techniques. It is the fact that you never once acted like humans were superior. You could have. After defeating Dravik so easily, you could have claimed human supremacy. But you did not. You taught humbly. You learned from others even as you taught them." "That is what martial arts taught me," Katie said. "There is always someone better. Always something new to learn. The moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop growing. That attitude is why the council chose you for the academy assignment," Ambassador Liu said. "You will be training the trainers. The techniques you teach will spread to every corner of Coalition space. Millions of soldiers will learn from your methods, and that is a lot of pressure. You can handle it. You have already proven that." Ambassador Liu placed a hand on Katie's shoulder. "When humans joined the Galactic Coalition 5 years ago, many species doubted us. They saw us as primitives from a dangerous world. They thought we had nothing to offer except brute strength." She smiled. "You showed them they were wrong. Humans have strength, yes, but we also have wisdom, humility, and the desire to lift others up. That is our real contribution to the galaxy." After the ambassador left, Katie remained on the observation deck for a while longer. She thought about what lay ahead. The academy, training instructors, spreading Earth martial arts across the galaxy. It was a big responsibility, but she was ready. A year ago, she had been on Earth, a martial arts instructor in the Human Defense Force. She had good students, a comfortable life, but she wanted more. She wanted to see the stars, to meet other species, to find out what humans could contribute to the greater galaxy.